solution there. And then obviously our maintenance staff is going to have to check the status of the sunscreen whenever they can.
So we'd have something else during our hottest periods of time to check it more often.
Oh, absolutely, sure. And we could work with park staff to do that as well. We could check it on a daily basis. Obviously, right now, that wouldn't be an issue, but come the hotter months, we could ramp up maintenance if needed. But sunscreen does perform very, very well above 100 degrees.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, does anyone else have another? Commissioner Lamort, do you have a question?
Well, there was some question about the signage and about the logo of the company being the prominent thing on the sign. And I think one of the suggestions was, and I'll make it,
Sure.
that the two facilities that are associated with the park, the three of us take the credit for it, and the name of the company is not an afterthought, but it isn't so prominent. The real important thing is for people to want to use it, not who's providing it. I love the idea. I think we can stop one case of melanoma with this. It's worth it.
Totally.
So I'm very much in support of it, as long as the signage is much more general than
Sure.
specific to the company name.
Okay, fair enough. I can mock some designs up and pass them to you if you'd like to disseminate them, and then we could go from there. But I kind of get what you're saying. It's something very similar to the city of Los Angeles. They had to have brought to you by the city of LA, then the sponsor's name, wherever the sponsor was located. So I'll provide that example. I think that'll work. I think it's what you're envisioning.
Any other commissioner questions?
I have a question.
Director
I'm
Alvarado.
not the commissioner, though.
Alvarado.
What is the lifespan of this partnership if the city decides to embark on this? I mean, after a year or two, is it just dropped on us and we have to figure out how to take over everything? Or is this for as long as those dispensaries end up being at our
Have
location?
sponsorship. That's a good question. So, I mean, technically, it's as long as the sponsor wants to go. For example, in the city of Santa Monica, we locked in UCLA for 3 years. So this last summer was their second year, so they have one more, and then we'll begin negotiations again and try to get them for a long term, and if not, we'll go elsewhere. That's the way we're operating with the city of Santa Monica. If, let's say, for whatever reason, UCLA does not want to extend, which I don't foresee that, but if they do, what I've seen in the past is they just shrink the amount of units and they concentrate them in places. So we had a sponsor in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that sponsored 10 dispensers, and when the sponsorship ran, it was done by a local nonprofit. The city took on the cost of it, and then they shrunk the units down to 2 or 3 in strategic places. So it depends. What I'd like, obviously, with UC Riverside or Eisenhower, who I've now reached out to, is to obviously do this test pilot run and then try to lock them in to something longer term so it's consistent on your guys' end, so you guys could always hopefully be able to provide this. And again, thus far, the sponsors that we've worked with have seen extreme value in this. Oh, no worries. Extreme value in this, so they feel it's important to keep it going as well. So far, so good, but in that case, let's say just the financing runs out. Cities still love the service. Obviously, the community gets used to it, so they kind of expect it. They just dial down the number of units, essentially.
So if for some reason, one of the sponsors decides they don't want to renew the agreement, do you find another sponsor to help pick that up, or?
Yes, for the most part, we do. Sometimes, like local communities, for example, they work with local nonprofits or local companies and structure that themselves. There has been a few cases like that, but otherwise, Santa Monica's, Los Angeles's, I would try to be the first guy to find more money for this program.
Commissioner Crawford?
Can you tell us a little bit more about the sponsorship with UCR, and you just mentioned Eisenhower as well?
Well, it's kind of hit a pause button just because of the holidays. We're going to resume talks again in January. Things are moving really, really well. I would expect closing that deal in January and then potentially rolling out in February. That's where I think what stage we're at right now.
And about how long would those contracts be for, how long and that kind of stuff?
So it looks like the last I spoke with them, they're looking at a 9-month contract. I presented two, they could either do a 4-month contract now, 4-month contract from Memorial Day to Labor Day, which is just covering those months. But it looks like they're